Believe me, I know this because I sell spaceships.
Hello and welcome to episode number 126 of Unrelenting for August 23rd, 2024. I am Darren O'Neill, is Gene of Believe, and we are ready for a lip-smacking good time. Or something like that. I think so. You sound less than excited.
I'm excited enough.
You probably stayed up late to watch Kamala, so you're excited. You're all jazzed. You're ready for the Harris presidency. I got my liquid death right here ready to go. We're not sponsored by them. We should be. Or Gigawatt
you've
Coffee.
Been drinking that a lot. I'm a traditionalist, dude. I'm just having a Starbucks double espresso.
That's a traditionalist. I thought it was iced tea for you.
No, I'll have tea the entirety of the way, but right now, just to wake up a little bit, I'm having one of these Starbucks
just to kick things into gear. Let's see. Well, I've been up
espresso.
I've been up at 3 hours. How long have you been up? 3 minutes? Somewhere around there.
Yeah, about 30.
I got to get the show in. It's a Friday.
It's been a long week of hard work.
And I want to point out that on the last episode, we were thrilled with the amount of support that we got. Not a penny.
It was unusual.
Not a penny for this.
Well, that always happens. That's literally how it happens. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Hundreds of dollars on the last episode, and then it's like nothing.
Mm-hmm.
Not a penny. Not even a Satoshi that I saw. Since the last show. Nothing.
I'm sure somebody will send the Satoshi.
Yeah, because only you can make it go pew, pew.
Yeah, or not.
It's the way it works sometimes in the value for value podcast land, which is still the only argument I will have with the value for value proposition. And I know the Podfather and JCD, they like to make fun of the people that are over on Patreon and doing stuff like that. But I see a few people on Patreon that are doing pretty well, and I haven't noticed a drop off due to Bidenflation as much as I have noticed the drop off in Noah Gen and other value for value podcasts, including every one that I do.
Well, now, okay, you're talking about the system. I was going to say, but keep in mind that like 99% of the funds No Agenda receives is in US dollars, not Satoshis.
No, I understand. But I'm not talking about Satoshis. I'm talking about doing the value for value thing rather than the people that do the premium model, which we have talked about in the past. That's your buddy. The Pool Man does it. A lot of other shows do it where you get, hey, that's the first hour of our show. And if you like that, go subscribe. And it seems that the people.
Well, and that's a little annoying, I will say.
It's horrible.
Yeah. Yeah. It's annoying until you subscribe and then you don't care.
Exactly. But the thing that I've noticed is that those that have subscribed and are getting something in return for their funds, like more show, are willing to keep the funds going out, where the people that get the whole show no matter what are more than willing to say, fuck you, I'm not giving you a penny because I can't afford it right now, rightfully so.
I don't think that's true. And I say that based on donations coming into just your good old boys. We don't use Patreon. We use the automated rebilling system that's part of Buzzsprout, which is the hosting company.
But they're not getting anything extra for going.
They're not getting.
So I'm not talking necessarily about Patreon. I'm talking about anybody that is doing a concept where if you do not subscribe, you don't get anything.
My point is that I think you're assuming the difference is that people like getting bonus stuff. And I'm saying, I don't think that's it. I think the difference is an automatic renewal. Whether you're getting bonus stuff or not, doesn't matter. It's the fact that it bills you every month.
No, totally disagree.
And if you set the amount to be sufficiently low enough, in our case, $5, people stay on for like 6, 8, 10 months.
Oh, I can believe that. I mean, Sir Fudge Fountain is still giving a $2.89 monthly or something to Grumpy Old Ben's, and we haven't done a show in like 2 months.
Uh-huh.
But overall, what I'm seeing from the folks that do, Tell 'em Steve Dave, who are these podcasts, the ones that give you the content only if you have a subscription, have a higher subscription base that has not dipped with the Biden inflation. Because again, I think when you go, hey, it's very easy if you have a recurring donation to just the good old boy, just to good old boy, .com. Or if you have a recurring donation to Unrelenting, or if you have a recurring donation to No Agenda, and if I stop that recurring donation, then I still keep getting the content. That is way different than I really like listening to who are these podcasts. And I know if I stop giving them money, I no longer get to listen to the shows. Then I think the people are less likely to pull their funds. So it's an interesting thing to look, because it's like, I think those people value the shows at a higher rate because they know if they don't pay, they don't get it. And value for value works, and it works way better for shows with 1 million plus listeners than shows with 5,000-10,000 listeners.
Well, yeah, but there is still the aspect that if you're simply paying a subscription in order to get something that you wouldn't get if you didn't pay, you're a lot more likely to stop paying for it if you stop watching or listening.
Well, of course.
Whereas if you've got a donation you're sending for somebody that you like, not because you're getting the content free anyway, so the only reason you're sending a donation is because you like it, then you're less likely to pull that. I
disagree. I think it's totally
I've been
the
paying
opposite.
for Tim Pool for 2 years.
Well, yeah,
I haven't watched an episode in 6 months.
You're an anomaly.
No, I'm not. I'm very there are a lot of people that don't watch the show that still pay money.
The common gene.
They like the message.
You are just the common gene guy with, caviar guy, boat guy, guy to get you into Russia guy. I mean, there's so many guys. I mean, I know that's just a travel facilitator.
They're all named Gene.
They're all Genes too. All different last names. Very weird. It's just the Gene.
Yeah, exactly.
And then when you all get together at the resort,
the Gene Coalition,
you go to the Gene Pool.
We have an annual meeting called Eugenics. It's pretty cool.
Oh yeah, he has a spaceship guy too. See, Brooklyn, you're right.
Spaceship guy.
Gotta have.
I am the spaceship guy.
Hey, you are Spaceship Gene. I see you standing spaceship like Gene. Remember Superman from the original television series? At the beginning of the opening of that, where he's standing with his hands on his hips. That's how I picture Gene doing the show.
Now, which version?
That would be the
Christopher Reeves or the
like the 1950s. What was that dude's name?
It was still Reeve. What was it? Something Reeve.
I don't remember.
But
it was the classic black and white television series. Remember watching those over and over again as a kid. That was some good stuff. It was quality entertainment.
Adventures of Superman. And it starred George Reeves.
And then Lois Lane.
Christopher's dad.
This is, we do not fact check anything here on unrelenting.show. It's part of our charm.
What? What do you mean?
Nothing at all. Reeve and Reeves, totally the same last name.
I mean, no, they're both Reeves.
Oh, it is both Reeves with the plural. Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, that is a weird coincidence at the very least.
And he was born in Iowa.
Well, who wouldn't be?
Just saying, Superman.
That's where they are born, in Iowa.
That's usually where Superman are born.
Then they came from the planet Krypton. Just the special
stupidity
effects
of it all.
Yeah. Well, yeah, but the stories were good on the old Superman, and just like the old Doctor Who, there was something to be said when you could tell that
he had no budget but good stories.
Right. That you could tell that the thing that was supposed to be a high-tech computer was a vacuum cleaner with a calculator attached. I mean, that was fine.
Blinky lights.
That was perfectly fine. You had to give up some of that.
Yeah, and I think that the stories is what made Doctor Who last for 25 years. It wasn't
50.
It wasn't
now.
Well, not 50. No, it wasn't 50.
Now it's over 50.
Well, no. I don't count this shit as Doctor Who.
Well, I'm
talking about the actual Doctor Who from 1968 to 1988.
True. Although I will give the
20 years.
The Eccleston year was okay. Everything up into the Chick Doctor was okay. Even Capaldi was decent.
It's not Doctor Who, though. I think that it's a reboot of Doctor Who. That's kind of like calling the modern Star Wars movies Star Wars. That's not Star Wars.
Well,
Star Wars has 3 episodes. That's it.
I would agree with
Star Wars. Everything else is shit, aka I don't know what's a nice way of putting it. Money suck.
Well, yeah. I'm surprised they just haven't renamed it Woke Wars yet. And the lesbian ruler.
The Revenge of the Woke.
Right.
Yeah.
The black lesbian ruler raised up her lightsaber. No phallic symbols here. Cast do have to change the lightsabers.
What? It's
way too phallic of a symbol.
Totally a phallic symbol.
I know. So we got to have like Vag rockets vibrator or something now. Right. We got to change it.
There was a show. What was it? Some show I was watching where a kid brought his mom's rocket to show and tell at school.
Hey kids, don't go into
and the teacher's looking at him like, shit, how do I deal with this?
My mom really likes her massager.
Yeah, my mom is into rockets. She has all kinds of rockets. And
where does the rocket fuel go, little Jimmy?
It's pretty damn funny. Well, they're obviously battery powered rockets, but it is the expression on the teacher's face was priceless.
How many rockets do you have, Gene? Now picture.
Boy, I own so many JPEGs, man.
I'm picturing amazing. You now as the guy. I mean, it may have just been as a youngster, but I picture you with the kits building the rockets and then watching as you launch them up towards space.
I had a rocket guy.
The little well, do you keep in touch, or you've lost touch with the rocket guy?
Lost touch. No. I remember launching those things in elementary.
Those were fun, man. Now you and Kim Jong-un, you got the same rocket guy.
It doesn't last for long.
No, it's like goes up and it comes down.
As soon as you make the battery connection, it's like whoosh.
And you're like, that's it?
Now you're waiting for the parachute to work.
Where did it go?
For it to float back down.
Well, now, I mean, when we were kids, we didn't have these super small cameras and stuff you could put on them.
No, there was nothing on there. Yeah.
You couldn't have
now
GPS.
You're right. If they're putting cameras on the sides of these things so you can actually watch backwards as it's taking off, just like the real big rockets do.
It's kind of cool. Darth Vader as a tranny Omega Project. I don't know. That could work. I mean, really, by the time...
You know what I rewatched the other day?
You get all that medical stuff done. You need to live in an old little plastic thing. What did you watch?
Yeah, I rewatched Total Recall.
I don't recall that.
It was on... I don't know what channel it was on, but I noticed it and I thought...
Wait, you were watching a regular television channel?
Yeah, I think it was Showtime.
I was like, wait, you turned on the TV? And you have it connected to...
I don't own the TV. No, I have Showtime on streaming, but...
Well, see, this would be the ultimate. I don't have a television, but I have all the streaming services.
Yeah, that's been the case for many years. But when I say streaming, I mean streaming, not broadcast cable.
Gotcha.
But yeah, for you boomer.
Boomer, hey man, I'm still looking for Bill O'Reilly on the old Fox News.
I'm sure you are.
Need the factor, baby.
And that Megan Kelly chick.
Megan, yeah, she was hot before she got all those Olympic face.
Mm.
Even my wife,
what
said I pulled up a Megan Kelly clip on the YouTubes, and she's just like, she does not look good.
She's never looked good. That's my point. I don't understand this magic that people were under, thinking that she's somehow this hot chick. No, she's never looked good, ever.
That's why she always just had the long hair covering her face, and that way you were like, I maybe wouldn't notice.
She's a very middle of the road chick. You would not have noticed her. That was that a Red Claw?
That was a Liquid Death.
Or Black Claw.
Now, of course, if the sound effect,
you would not have even noticed her.
You won't even notice it.
I'm sure you will. You never would have noticed her in high school. She would have been one of those bitchy, obnoxious, too tall for their own good chicks.
Yeah, I was looking for them in high school because I was too tall.
I guess you would have been because you were too tall.
Like, where are they at?
Okay, you would have noticed her. The rest of us have been like, yeah, freak. But the worst period, I think, for her, visually wise, was when she chopped all her hair off and decided to become a liberal feminist for about a year until she got fired from that job.
Yeah, I very rarely like the short hair.
Nobody likes the short hair. This is the point that I swear to God, I've been saying it my entire life. I don't understand why this is not commonly known. The thing that dudes or ex-dudes, I don't know what the word is, that basically, that essentially demonstrates a woman's sexuality is her hair. Now you could say, oh, it's tits or it's the ass. No. Before you see either one of those, the first thing that gets your eyeballs pointing in that general direction is what her hair looks like. Because you're not going to be looking at an ass and then realizing it's a dude. The first thing you look for,
hey, dude's got long hair now.
Those aren't dudes.
Did you not notice Adam Curry back in the day? That guy had hair.
He did have hair. Yeah, that's very true. And he looked a little gay when he had that much hair.
But not as gay as being on a recumbent bike, right?
There's nothing at all gay about a recumbent bike. It just says you can afford one. That's all.
I would like a few moments for rebuttal, officer.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, go ahead.
I get it. If you see the long, flowing blonde hair.
Flowing hair is a sign of good health. This is all subconscious communication stuff.
But what if it's a wig? I know.
I'm talking about genetically. I'm talking about like our ancestors were drawn to long hair because people that don't have long hair, females that don't have long hair, ain't going to have kids. There's something wrong with them.
See, I should have checked
there's some kind of medical
conversation on X for what this was today.
Yes. Yeah, that's the topic. So we are predisposed as males to subconsciously look for long, attractive hair. So this is the surest way for a woman to signal I'm not interested in men is to chop her hair.
To go all Sinead O'Connor.
To go all lesbian, yes. And I'm sure that psychologists may have a thing or two to say about this as well, and looking at what is the mentality of the women that decide to go from long hair to short hair. But my suspicion, not being a psychologist, just playing one on TV, is that they're feeling like they've just been victimized. They're feeling hurt about something that they're ascribing to a man doing.
They want to take control of something.
Their hair. Well, that's what they would say. The reality is not taking control. The reality is I'm going to damage myself and make myself unattractive, and that will hopefully keep all these men away from me. And a lot of women have done this. A lot of women have gone through these short hair periods at certain portions of time. I mean, you remember Britney Spears going through that.
Yes. Well, yeah, that was not a good look.
It's not a good look for any woman. It's not a look. It is literally a subconscious expression of, I want to damage myself.
And you know
that's
what?
what Megyn Kelly did when she went through her liberal lesbian period.
The only time I remember thinking, that kind of works, was Janine Turner in Northern Exposure.
Don't recall what she looks like.
Wow. Well, you should watch Northern Exposure. It was a great show.
Should I really?
I think so. I mean, you tell me to watch all the crappy stuff, and I'm like, let me check that out. Northern Exposure was actually
You are so wrong, dude. All the stuff I told you to watch, literally everybody who is in our audience agrees with me.
All three
disagrees with you.
Yeah, they're like, hey, Gene's right.
Yep. That's exactly what they're saying.
In Northern Exposure.
So she was born in 1962. Yeah, sounds like your type.
No, well, again, I was watching the show at a later point, so the ages equaled out. But it's also a great show just for the oddity that the little Alaskan town radio station, they use a Shure SM7B.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Without
so you're talking about a
on.
pixie cut.
Yeah, that worked for her. I mean, that was not bald. There was some hair there.
Not bald, but the pixie cut is a different phenomenon. Okay. This is not a woman that's trying to make herself unattractive. A pixie cut is somebody that has trauma in childhood and is trying to be perceived as a child.
If anybody wants to do a few sessions with Gene, he would be more than happy to take you on.
Not licensed to do sessions. I'm happy to comment on things that people tell me for money, but I cannot do any sessions because that requires a medical license. But I am a student of
women's hairstyles.
What would you even call it? It's not even psychology. I was like really looking at the student of subconscious, maybe would be a better way to phrase it. There are a lot of things that humans do, and a lot of them, frankly, are in common with other primates that have nothing to do with learned behavior. They're really subconscious innate behaviors that we've developed over millennia. In fact, a lot more than millennia and millions of years. And as a result, we still do them, but they're generally ascribed to some kind of conscious thought processes. But the reality is they're all subconscious.
No Beret says good show. Not sure if he means Northern Exposure or Unrelenting.
I'm pretty sure it's Northern Exposure he's talking about.
He's not talking about this show. No. No.
Yeah. So, has
the B12 kicked in yet? The caffeine.
Let me take that.
Did you forget the
caffeine?
B12
Is definitely.
Again?
I don't forget it. I have the bottle.
It's right there, sitting right next to you,
right next to my podcasting rig.
To remember, if I'm podcasting, I should be taking the B12. I should be
that bottle.
Especially before just2goodoldboys.com featuring a dude named Ben. And
what about him?
He wants you to take the B12. He wants you to be on your
was
game.
It you or him that was making fun of the fact that I'm taking this sublingual? Must have been him.
Gene takes pills right here on the podcast. Why would we make what was the reason for making fun of that?
Oh, I don't know. But he thought sublingual was funny.
In Northern Exposure. We figured that's what you meant, No Beret. Yes, it is. This is, see, Brooklyn said, this is our supplement break here on Unrelenting. This is not sponsored by...
Well, it should be.
any particular supplement company, but if you have a supplement company
Mm-hmm.
and would
Yes,
like to,
then I'd be happy to run it for you. I have experience.
Gene will actually try all of your supplements at the same time just to see what happens. Take a handful
I don't
of
know
these,
about that.
take a handful of those, take a handful of these.
I think I probably would qualify as a crazy person by a lot of people in terms of the number of supplements I take. Because I certainly would have considered somebody that takes as much as I do a crazy person 20 years ago.
Well, it depends on why. It depends on knowing your body.
Not really.
Knowing the research, knowing what the supplements.
Well, right now,
do.
yeah, you're providing the justification for taking a lot of things. I'm just saying from a healthy person who doesn't take anything standpoint, or maybe takes one multivitamin pill a day.
Right.
And
now that's probably a waste of money.
Nah, it's better than nothing. But if you're looking at, in fact, I still take multivitamins because they taste good. I get the gummy bear brand.
Now you sound like my mom. Well, would you like me to get you those in pill form? No. Do they have gummies? Yeah, the elderberry. Oh no, the gummies are great.
The gummies are great. Yeah, and yeah, I think I'm taking like 20 supplements a day.
I need a rundown of all those. I'd be curious.
I sent you a photo that had all the bottles stacked up like a year ago.
Yeah, might need a list. Be a lot easier. But okay.
Might be a lot harder for me to actually do work and type it in. So screw you. You're getting a photo.
I have first thing in the morning. It is 2 capsules of the taurine. I think they're 1,000 milligrams each, and 2 of the quercetin. That's how we start the day. Woo! Oh, comic strip blender.
Oh yeah,
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
He says, Pogue Mahone, www.csb.lol with a 3333, because only you can make it go Q. And I finally realized the other day, fucking CSB,
Mm-hmm.
his whole thing that it's like, oh, no, kurwa, that just means thank you. No, it means fuck. I mean, I didn't think CSB had the ability to tell that joke. I just took him at his word. I thought he was so literal, CSB could never send you down the wrong path. But then I met a nice Polish girl, and I'm like, kurwa. And she's like, when? Now? I'm like, yeah. And it was great. CSB.
See, we know that's bullshit because it has you meeting a girl, but yeah.
Otherwise, the story was completely perfect. I could have been like, I met a Polish dude.
So I was a Polish grocery store.
Right. I was getting some pierogi.
I was like, I'd like 4 of those kurwas.
And she's like, ooh, 4. That's a lot.
Mm-hmm.
That's a lot. And then the Polish butcher punched me in the face. That's what CSB was hoping for.
Yeah.
He was trying to cause damage.
Well, it doesn't just mean fuck.
No, it's a variety of words.
Fuck doesn't really just mean fuck either.
No, it never does. It's probably the most, it was the Carlin bit. Like, it's the most
right.
usable word in the English language. Absolutely.
It is literally all parts of the English language.
But back to the supplements. We have the taurine and the quercetin. And then I take, I've got the regular medication, but I also take the AREDS 3, which is, or is it 2? Maybe AREDS 2, which is the eye vitamin, which is a supplement because it's the zinc and the zeaxanthin and lutein that are in that.
Mm-hmm.
Also take some D3. I'm back to the 5,000 because you told me go high,
Good.
go high, go high.
Go high, man. Did you watch that episode that I posted on X?
I did. It was mainly a sales pitch, but I did watch that.
Yeah, but it usually is.
Isn't that right? It's like, yeah, then go buy my book. If you really want the information, buy my book.
Well, I've been watching this guy for a decade, and he is, what I like about him, even though he's not a real doctor, what I like about him is he is a...
Dude, I almost just spit my liquid death right out. It's like, he's not even a real doctor?
Well, no, he's not. But it's still, but he's got very good points. He is...
Didn't it say like Dr. Zhishwab or something when he got out there?
Yeah.
He's like a doctor, like Joe Biden is a doctor.
He doesn't have an honorary degree. He has a doctor of chiropractic. So it makes him not a real doctor. But
that's like way worse.
But he spent the last over 10 years, probably 15 years, doing a deep dive into supplementation, and he has a lot more knowledge than the vast majority of actual doctors when it comes to the chemicals that you put in your body.
So now when I'm taking my 5,000,
he reads the research.
I use of the D3 that doesn't automatically come packaged with the K2. I am taking the magnesium at the same time. Do I need to add the K2 to that as well?
I take K2 magnesium. The only thing I don't take is calcium, because on every freaking blood test I do, I have slightly elevated calcium. So that's
you don't want extra then.
No, you don't, because that's how you end up getting calcification in your veins and stuff, in your arteries.
You get your calcium the old-fashioned way, pint by pint of coffee ice cream.
Okay, I just did a spit take right there, because that's very true. I do enjoy the occasional coffee ice cream, even though I don't do it as much as I used to.
Well, diabetes will do that for you.
Diabetes will prevent you from eating pints of ice cream big time.
You eat the ice cream and you're like, I really don't feel good.
It's like, okay, I haven't eaten all day. I've saved up my sugar intake load. I'm going to eat some ice cream. But yeah, I don't even drink that much milk. I think that there's a misconception that calcium only comes from milk. The reality is it comes from eating meat.
Yeah.
So if you are a carnivore, you're probably getting enough calcium.
And you can still supplement that with the Haagen-Dazs. It has to be Haagen-Dazs. O'Reilly's the same way. He said he only eats Haagen-Dazs.
That's the only brand of ice cream. Yeah.
And the
it's
coffee.
Either that or homemade.
And it was the coffee, too. So you and O'Reilly are ice cream buddies.
We're ice cream bros.
Yeah. You probably hang out together. You're like, let's get some Haagen-Dazs. What do you say?
Just don't tell Daryl.
Right. Or his other brother, Daryl, or anybody involved with the Unrelenting show. So I got to add.
Starts with a D.
I got to add the K2 then in as a, because I have never seen like a 5,000 D3 with the K2. So I got to add the K2.
Right. Yeah.
With that. Otherwise, I take
realistically speaking, you generally don't want to get the mixed vitamins. You want to get the solo vitamins, because these products often have different speeds with which they age and lose efficacy.
That would make sense.
So you know, I mean, I guess if you just only buy one thing of pills and then use it until it's gone and then go and buy the next one, most people will do a two for one or 3 for 1 or whatever kind of sale deals and stock up. Like, I know I've got probably 2 years worth of vitamin D sitting in the bathroom
right now. Got to keep it cool and dark. That's all you got to do.
Yeah.
Then we have the magnesium. It depends. I got to find the caps. They got to find the pills rather than the capsules, man. The capsules in your stomach are not fun.
Mm-hmm.
They are not fun. Then I do the CoQ10. Do that twice a day.
No, I don't do that one. But a lot of people I know do CoQ10. I've never really needed to.
Well, it's one of those, if you take a statin, they tell you have to, because the statins like dry up the CoQ10.
Yeah, so my solution to that is to not take a statin.
Which is a better way to go.
I think so. My doctor bitches at me every time. He's like, nah, cholesterol is still too high. I don't know what's going on. We keep prescribing you stuff. And I'm like, yep.
Well, there's a good reason. I have never seen the pills. But I will.
No, I'll take one occasionally if I feel like it, but it's rare.
And granted, there's no proof, but I do believe.
You do believe. Go ahead.
The CoQ10 lowered my blood pressure better than any of the other blood pressure medications have.
And that's makes sense. I think it works in the calcium channel there. But the thing about a lot of these is it's not. So what the statins do is not necessarily, or in fact, probably not addressing the root cause. It's just addressing the symptom. And that's what a lot of our medicine is, just addressing the symptom.
Right.
Whereas I think CoQ10 actually addresses the cause, not the symptom. So it's This is a difference generally between medicines and supplements. It's not just that one requires a prescription, but medicines are supposed to be the fastest way to stop something the doctor doesn't like that he sees in you. Whereas supplements are something that's supposed to supplement what you would otherwise be getting out of food if we ate normal food, which we don't.
Well, in order to allegedly make you healthier because you need, your body needs this nutrient, but you're not getting it because, well, in the case of vitamin D3 in the winter in, Chicago, well, you're not really getting a lot of natural D3, so you got to get it in a different form.
Right. Well, and there was another interview I watched, and this one was, who was it on? I think it might have even been on Tucker. I don't remember exactly who was the interview.
Russian apologist Tucker Carlson.
Russian apologist Tucker Carlson, yeah. But talking about how it's been a medical scam to get people to stop sunbathing, because when we were young, sunbathing was a natural activity in the summer that everybody participated in. The guys did it while doing activities. Like I was a windsurfer, so I did that all summer long. And, they kind of started putting the kibosh on that in the late 80s, talking about how evil and bad the sun is and it causes cancer and all these things, which is such total bullshit. Because sure, there might be some percentage of people that end up getting skin cancer, but realistically speaking, we, for millions of years, once again, have been running around with no clothes on, or minimal clothes on, let's just say. It all depends if you're a nudist, I guess. But running around and being out in sunlight. And that includes both black people, white people, and Asian people. It's just, this is natural for humans to be outdoors in sunlight, generating vitamin D the natural way.
Right. Well, it's also, though, genetic, meaning a very purebred, as CSB likes to say, white Irish dude spending time in the sun. Your chances of getting skin cancer probably way higher than somebody with a dark brown skin. And
it depends where you spend the time in the sun. If you spend the time in the sun in Ireland, no, not at all.
Well, right, because that's in Ireland, which is where the sun is rarely around.
And that's where the pale-skinned people belong.
So if you bring them to the United States and you set them
which
down
you shouldn't
in Florida,
have done ever.
That's wrong.
Yeah, there's no reason to transport those types over here.
Our good friend CSB with another 3333 says, ask Gene how to get rich quick. I need money to buy a castle in Norway.
Oh, castle in Norway.
I do like the Norwegian women. I'll come hang out with CSB.
Wow, who doesn't, man?
A lot of blonde women out there, CSB, and tall. They're like Vikings.
Just like Vikings, because that's what their ancestors were, yeah.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Thinking, that would be exactly what CSB wants to be doing.
Now, do you prefer the Sweden or the Norway?
Is there really that much of a difference? I mean,
Ooh.
Whoa, what?
Fighting words.
I didn't know. I mean, the Swedish women kind of look blonde.
You don't know that they're different countries?
I mean, I know they're different countries, but I think the overall look is close, isn't it? I mean, is there a massive look? If we gave Gene a bunch of photos, like one's a Norwegian woman, one's a Swedish.
Totally tell.
Always, you think?
Yes, absolutely.
Somebody set up this test. I need an AI that will pick pictures of those two genetic groups, CSB, and then have Gene vote which one's which.
It's very easy. It's super easy. The Norwegians have a much higher percentage of dark hair than the Swedes.
But I'll go Swedes.
Okay. All right.
See, Brooklyn says the whole sunburn thing makes me believe we didn't evolve on this planet. Ooh. We were brought here by an alien race and deposited.
We don't get sunburn, dude. It's a lie told by mainstream medicine.
You've never had sunburn?
That's not, I've had sunburn, but it's normal. This is the reason we get sunburn, right? The reason anybody's ever had sunburn is because they were indoors too long. no one gets sunburn by the end of summer, right? When's the last time in August you had sunburn when you were young?
I suppose
Never.
it does go from when you have like no sun exposure
Sunburn
to
is a symptom of being indoors too much.
Sunburn is a symptom of not getting enough sun, people.
Yeah, that's exactly it.
This is the kind of medical terminology
That doctor told me.
And advice that you'll get here.
That doctor who's not real told me.
I believe it. And then sunscreen, of course. So that was the whole big scam.
That's the scam. Yeah, sunscreen was a total scam. Yep.
And then you realize
basically
the chemicals
it's like wearing
in
a condom.
Well, it's worse because the chemicals that are in the sunscreen are now leaching into your body, and there's aluminum and all sorts of crap in there that
there's a lot of aluminum. You're right about that.
Not good. That's why I don't even use
lead. The oldest sunscreen was made of lead.
Yeah, I would never use the antiperspirants. One, I don't have a perspiration problem, but it's a deodorant.
You're never around people. Yes, that makes sense.
This is true. If nobody's around you to tell you smell like ass, you are perfectly fine. But
you're putting you're putting that on your ass, then you got a whole other kind of issue.
Well, that's these commercials. I said this to my wife. Who are these people? They're the commercials that were running during the NASCAR race. Was for something called Lumi. And it's like, oh, you just put a little drop between your ass cheeks and you won't smell all day. And I'm like, wait. Are people doing this?
Deadens your sense of smell?
I don't know. It's like people are doing this. It must be some kind of like antibacterial cream that people are rubbing between their ass cheeks. I'm like, one, who is using this? Two, why are there commercials for this? And three, I don't want to be the product tester there. I don't want to be the people that are
I was going to say, so you ended up ordering some just to see what it was all about.
If I should. Like, let's do that. Can we get a Lumi sponsorship here on the podcast, maybe?
Well, and I think that they're actually kind of onto something because the human body itself doesn't really have a whole lot of smell. It's actually... the aromatics are from the bacteria that normally reside on human bodies or in human bodies, one or the other. And it's just the byproducts of their exhaust chemicals, if you will, that we associate with bodily smells.
Yeah, that seems pretty much right.
When you clean all the bacteria out of a human body, like they generally do, at a funeral home, or what do you call it?
The mortuary.
Mortuary. But when they take all the blood and all the junk out of your stomach and stuff, that removes pretty much all the smell.
Well, yeah, you can tell this very easily. If you got a lot of stank going on, and you haven't showered in like a week, take a little bit of isopropyl alcohol and just rub your pits. The smell disappears instantaneously.
That's because you're smelling the isopropyl.
Well, there's that too, because you're like, whoa!
I'll tell you, that's a strong smell.
Whoa! You got to probably mix it with a little water, or you're going. I made that mistake once with the high concentration, because there's different isopropyl alcohols as well. You can get it at
you
like
want the 95% one.
80. Right? You want the highest percentage you can.
Yeah, absolutely.
But if you do the highest percentage you can, and you like rub that directly on your pits, oh my God! It's like you set yourself on fire for like a minute. It goes
just
right
minute,
in.
though.
Yeah,
it does. It does tend to go right in. That's true. It goes right through the pores and everything. Yeah.
Omega Project says he takes 21,000 milligrams of medications a day. He's had some bigly heart problems. He says, I smell like a fucking CVS. Is it a good
CVS,
smell?
That's funny. Yeah. I know exactly the smell he's saying, though.
Just put a little bit of musk, get a little.
It's basically a combination of teenagers and homeless people.
That's not a good combination. Teenagers and homeless people.
What a CVS smells like.
I have not been in a CVS in a while. I mean, we're pretty much Walgreens here. We do have CVS, but we don't really go into them for some reason. Does Walgreens? I think
they're the only two chains that are left.
Is there a difference in the smell between a Walgreens and a CVS for some reason?
Yeah, Walgreens smells more like food.
Interesting. Did not know that. This is the information people come for.
Drive-through.
Well, of course.
I just generally go through the drive-through.
You mean you send your guy to the drive-through?
Well, no. I get most of my medicines actually show up in the mail from Amazon, but there's a couple that I have to get locally, like the insulin I get locally because that's got to get refrigerated. Amazon will ship you stuff that's refrigerated, but it's actually kind of a pain in the ass to get rid of the styrofoam box they ship it in. So I just picked that up locally.
You are very environmentally conscious, Gene.
Not really. I just don't want to fill up my trash with empty boxes.
I hear you. The snake might like it. Build a little habitat for the snake.
Snake already has an expensive habitat. It doesn't need to have anything else built. The snake did something I wasn't particularly happy about last week. He was sitting in the bathtub, as he does every few days. He
likes to go in for a little. So you got to keep a little water in there, or
why? No, I have to turn on the shower for him. He likes the rain.
Huh?
So he'll go in, take a shower, and then I'll turn the water off, and he'll just sit in the water for an hour or so, just chilling. And so I was talking on the phone to somebody, and I swear I hear water running. I don't know what the hell it is. I thought, because I didn't think I had my dishwasher on, didn't think I had the washing machine on, and so I ended up going in to take a leak in the bathroom, and I walk in and I see the snake sitting in a completely full bathtub, about a half inch below the level of the bathtub, full of water, and the water is it's coming out of the faucet. I'm like, you little bastard, you turned the water on. So and I don't know for how long that was happening. I might have a nice expensive water bill, but essentially the snake turned on the damn water. And I'm like, I hope that's a one-time accidental thing and not a learned behavior, because I don't,
he's watching.
It's bad enough he knows how to open doors by turning the handle. It's not good if he learns how to turn on water as well.
Like, go and turn on the TV to watch the snake channel.
That's next thing you know, he's going to be sitting there. It's like, why is the TV on?
Yeah, the snake's watching the snake channel. Mm-hmm. Got to see what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly. I've heard excuses because the wife works at Village Hall, and one of the things they take care of are the water bills.
Mm-hmm.
But I've never heard my snake turned on the water and ran up a big bill. Is there anything you can do? No. Most people just refuse to believe they have like a toilet running or something like that when their bill all of a sudden jumps up to massive usage, because nobody thinks that could take a lot of water, but it can.
It can, absolutely. I had a broken sprinkler a couple years back, and my water usage went from like $25 a month, $30 a month, something like that, to $200 a month. I was like, whoa. What the hell happened? It's not my fault.
And they're like, yes, it is, sir. It is your fault.
Well, I convinced them to take it off the bill, but it turned out to be a broken sprinkler.
That'll do.
The head was basically the idiot lawn guys managed to cut off the sprinkler head.
Oh, the lawn guys.
And so when the water turned on in the evening, instead of it going through a very fine mister, which it normally would, it just went straight out the pipe.
It was just pouring out.
It was basically a fountain for about an hour every night. And it's like, nice. Well, that's no good.
The wildlife.
Not nice at all, because it also creates a huge puddle
in
the yard.
For the wildlife to come and get some water. It's like a watering hole.
Yeah, for the mosquitoes to come and get some water.
The mosquitoes and the rats and the armadillos or whatever you got.
No. They're not allowed into the gated community here.
We had some mice running around the front porch, so the wife went and deconned their ass.
Oh my gosh!
Then
I did find a cockroach.
Ooh,
yeah.
That's almost as bad. My parents found a couple of mice, so it's like that in the house, which is like, that's never good.
Pretty bad. No, I found them in the garage, but their cockroaches are native here. I had to look this up. And when I say cockroach, I don't mean those little bitty things that are half an inch long that you'd have up north.
You mean like the ones that are like 14 inches and will learn how to turn on the television?
That's exactly right. The Texas cockroach is about 1.5 inches long, and it's winged, so it flies around. But they're native species here, and so they're not like imported from New York City, which is where the majority of the cockroach population lives. So they're actually native Texans here, which I find interesting.
Is it true that they feed on old, cheap ponchos?
That is absolutely the case, which is apparently why I found it in the garage, because I have a stockpile of cheap old ponchos sitting there. And the cockroaches are actually very beneficial because they eat rotting material. They're basically, cleaner crew.
So dead bodies, a lot of cockroaches.
Well, generally dead plants, but sure. They don't eat live plants. They don't eat live animals. They only eat things that are dead and decaying. So
sound like a party.
They're beneficial. Yeah. And while they will eat what we would describe as food, or like if you have a picnic or something and you leave a bunch of droppings, they'll eat those, but they actually prefer rotten stuff. They're attracted to the smell of rot.
1818 from Comic Strip Blogger, who says, "What do you want out of life?"
Is he just randomly saying things now? He's not even watching the show.
I think it's very philosophical of him. And you should send Dale from Down Under. Did you ever get his address? You could send him some ponchos. What would it cost to send ponchos to Australia? Like $45?
$45. Yes. I'd prefer, I'm happy to give Dale some ponchos. I'd prefer that he show up here.
Just come over.
And then I can present him with some.
You can pet the snake.
Oh, yeah. Snake petting. Yeah. I think he's probably got that in Australia. I'm pretty sure they have snakes.
Oh, yeah. They got big animals.
They don't have big animals, actually. They have poisonous animals.
Well, that's even worse, I guess.
Like drop bears.
Like kangaroos.
Kangaroos can be nasty. They're, even when they're pets, they're still nasty. There's a guy that has a wildlife rescue ranch whose channel I watched, that used to live here in Austin. Now he's moved up a little bit to Waco. Got a really nice crack den property and has renovated it into an animal facility.
Oh, so it's a nice crack den property now.
Well, it is now. Didn't used to be. Used to have like junk and tires and stuff in the yard and a bunch of, crack needles in the house, and now it looks really nice. But he's got some kangaroos there, and one of which the male that he raised from a baby, and it's named the baby. And now the baby's fully adult and has produced its own offspring with another kangaroo.
Well, I mean, that's better than with the guy.
Multiple generations of kangaroos. But even though the thing literally grew up in his house and he cared for it, when he comes out there, it still wants to grab his shoulders and start kicking him in the stomach with its feet.
They're not domesticated at all.
They're not. No, as much as he has essentially domesticated, kangaroos, I don't think can ever really be truly domesticated.
They're not interested in that.
It's it just sees anything roughly its size as in competition for female kangaroos.
And that may be true depending on the guy.
It's just I guess, but it's just gonna want to fight you. And the other animal that is even worse than that he has is a rhea named Kevin. And this rhea's entire mission in life is to bite him. just to run and chase him and bite him. It's truly amazing. And Kevin is now a grandfather himself because he's got a bunch of baby Rias. And which I think they taste pretty good, right?
I don't know.
Yeah. And instead of a turkey for Thanksgiving, have a Rhea. They're pretty much the closest things that we still have that are alive to dinosaurs.
Never ate one. Sure, they're tasty.
Like tastes like chicken.
Everything does. So you're just like, why don't you just have more chicken?
Well, you could. It's just obviously most people have had chicken, so it's a good reference point for what things taste like. If I said, "Oh yeah, tastes just like a saltwater crocodile,"
well, that's
not a good reference point for most people. It does taste like chicken, exactly, but most people wouldn't really.
Nothing wrong with a little gator.
That means
little gator bite. Fry them up.
Yeah, it's very chickeny tasting. And if you want the fatter meat, that's all in the base of the tail.
That's where the good stuff is. Little barbecue gator.
If you like the fattier bits.
Be like some rib tips. Got a little gristle going.
I like a good gator arm.
Oh. It's just like pull it right off and put it on a spit, like right over the fire.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody says kangaroos make durable leather. I did not know that.
Do they? Interesting. Yeah, I know that they don't taste good because when I was in Australia, I had kangaroo and I was like, nope, would not choose this as a standard meat that I would eat.
Would you like a Vegemite sandwich, mate?
God, that's even worse. Oh, my God.
Dale, what would you serve Gene if he came to Australia for?
Kangaroo and Vegemite?
Yeah. It's a great combination.
It's a horrible thing. I don't understand why anyone would eat that. I mean, I get it if you're hungry enough, but yeah.
Oh,
and then what's the other thing that's like Vegemite? There's another one the Brits do. Marmite?
I don't know. There's some weird foods out there.
It's basically like brewer's yeast.
It's interesting to know what people will eat and what they won't eat.
Mm-hmm.
I love some good. When you went to Ireland, it was like, oh, the black pudding, that's awesome. People are like, that's blood sausage.
Blood. Mm-hmm.
Like, yeah, but it's delicious.
Yeah, I'd say spotted dick is better.
You're more of a British aficionado of the spotted dick.
When it comes to countries with the worst food on the planet,
Britain?
Yes.
The UK?
Britain, Ireland, all that whole place that has a red-haired people with pale skin that you can see through.
I kind of like the Irish food, although it was mainly steaks and potatoes and whiskey.
So not really Irish food. Okay.
There was a lot of seafood, although, I mean, again, they're right Irish, there.
The potato was imported and not all that long ago into Ireland. It's not a native crop.
I didn't know.
Yeah.
Potato, but the big potato famine, man, that was a problem.
Yeah, you know why? It's because they stopped importing potatoes.
It's the damn people from Idaho.
Mm-hmm.
Can't trust them.
That's right. But yeah, they're the native foods in that part of the world. They're just not particularly tasty because they didn't really grow any spices.
It's not like a good shawarma.
That's very British.
Shawarma?
Mm-hmm.
Thought it was very Middle Eastern.
That's kind of like the most consumed food in the UK right now.
Well, I mean, that's because I did notice that in Ireland, too. There were a lot of takeaways for Chinese and Indian and Thai. And
So when I went to Ireland, the first 48 hours, the only thing that we ate was Murphy's and Guinness.
Well, that is the only way to start your trip.
With a spoon.
It's like it's soup.
Yeah, it's very thick. And then after 48 hours, we're like, okay, I guess we're going to have to eat, quote unquote, real food now. And then we started realizing that the native food was not particularly tasty.
Didn't go for a good
mutton
boxty?
stew. Mutton stew.
Oh, yeah, no mutton stew, man.
Mm.
Now, shepherd's pie or maybe a nice box tea.
Oh, Jesus. A little too much reverb.
Well, no, isn't the reverb, that's what sells it, I think. I also don't believe it's CSB anymore. Coming in 1818 says, why did the Polish man sit on the clock? He wanted to be on time. Maybe.
Yeah, whoever that is.
Somebody's drinking.
Had a few drinks. Yeah, exactly. Speaking of bourbon. Uh-huh.
We need a bourbon sponsorship. That's what we do need.
Yeah. We'll take a sponsorship. We'll be instantly kicked off the No Agenda Value for Value Network, though.
I know. That would be sad. It would be a sad day, but if there's any zeros on that check, I'm like, we're in.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, adios, mofos.
And such. You just cut that part out. You just, it's like, no, you just hide that, the commercial.
Yeah. All right, folks, this is a live recording, and we're going to go to our commercial sponsor. During that bit, you're going to hear nothing because that's illegal on this network. But
right.
We'll be right back.
You just run a different bit. You just run this like,
Yep.
And that's all you got to do instead.
When's the last time you actually chose to do something overly complicated? Ain't going to happen. You're
Never.
going to have quietness. Yeah, exactly. It says, the guy who doesn't bother editing the show ever.
Hey, it's always edited, but not manually.
Not manually, right? Exactly. Exactly. So I keep hearing Adam and John talk about you and your shitty art submissions.
I know, but they're only AI. I've been playing with the AI. It's fun.
Yeah. So apparently you're providing your secret code to them, which I don't know that you should be.
Secret code. I do extra special artwork for every Unrelenting over the last 5 weeks.
Yeah. No, I mean you're providing them with the words used to generate the art.
Well, just for a few of them, yeah.
That's
where they
secret, man. You're not supposed to be sharing that.
It's easy. Anybody can do it.
It's not meant to be secret and shared.
Anybody can do it. It's a beautiful thing.
No, but some people have language skills and others don't. You don't share your language with others. Did you never learn anything?
And I was wondering about this because I read a few of the articles about how artists are trying to screw with the AI.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, no, there's more Polish jokes. This can't be CSB. It's
not CSB.
Another 1818. Why did the Polish man refuse to drink bourbon at the party? He said, I'd rather not risk it. Last time I had bourbon, I ended up trying to wrestle a bear for its coat. Although it does seem very dad joke-ish, so that could be CSB. I don't know.
It's not CSB. No. And I think we talked about this before. There really needs to be a minimum value filter on making noise on our show.
Like 10,000.
Way too low right now. Way
20,000.
At least 10,000. There's 10,000 is what, like 25 cents?
No, it's a little more than that at this point. But
Bitcoin's 61,000 right now.
The concept.
Incidentally, speaking of Bitcoin,
Bitcoin?
Bitcoin. Go ahead. You finish your thing and then we'll get back to Bitcoin.
The concept that artists were going to be able to screw with the AI by putting fake descriptions on the images is not going to work. This was one of the theories, was that, if you posted a photo of, Gene in his Black Lives Matter t-shirt and put, this is Scarlett Johansson in an evening gown, this would confuse the AIs when it's trying to learn what things are. And there is a new type of for Stable Diffusion, which is the open source AI image generation thing, their platform. Their latest iteration thing is called Flux, and it's supposedly way more realistic when creating people. And I will say it's not perfect, but I think.
Have you been making some Scarlett Johanssons? Is that what you're saying?
Well, there's a few different points here. Yes. Well, there's the intriguing thing is, of course, there are LoRa's, which are things that you can add to the main the main data. So you can put in, and people have already trained Scarlett Johansson, of course, Taylor Swift, and all of your favorite. I even saw Alicia Silverstone. Like, wow, I haven't seen her in a while. But
she was hot for a minute.
Yeah. And people then will create these.
Before Fat Girl.
You can create very realistic looking images of these people. No question about it. These are doing a really nice job with photorealism, which is very hard to do. Even the last step, which was pretty good, the skin texture in that gives it away. It looks very plasticky. But the interesting thing here was in ChatGPT, thanks CSB for getting me all hooked up on ChatGPT, somebody had done their own, as you can do your own you can train the ChatGPT for specific things. And one of them was incorporation with this flux, basically checkpoint for stable diffusion. And I went in and I took a few different photographs and I put that into the ChatGPT thing and said, give me give me a prompt to recreate this in the LORA model. And I'm sorry, in the Flux model. I just got so many things on the brain.
I think you're losing people now. That I'm starting to nod off already.
Anyway, you put the photograph in, and it gave you a description of what's in the photograph. It doesn't need anything to describe it. And the photographs that it reproduced, when you put side by side, you would definitely go, yes, this belongs with the one that I started with. So you're basically starting with an image, whatever you want. You put it into the AI. The AI then gives you a text representation as a prompt. You're not putting the photograph in. You're just putting that text in, and it's reproducing a photograph that looks very much like the one you started with, which is wild to me.
Why is that wild? That's literally what it's meant to do.
Well, I understand that, but the concept then that you can go and lie about what's in the photograph, it's like, well, it doesn't need that. It's going to look at the photograph pixel by pixel. So anything that you add in to tell it what it is isn't going to do anything.
Yeah. Okay. That was the point you were making.
Yes.
Got it. Okay. Yeah. Because the bit that people, I think for the most part, don't realize is that words aren't so much a descriptor as they are more like a Dewey Decimal System of where to file certain things. And this is why these large models work, because what you're doing by providing a set of descriptor words, of terms, is just looking up what's at that position in the database. And that's what's in the database. And I know I'm oversimplifying it greatly here for people that actually understand how this works. It's not quite what it is, but it's closer to that than not. The words that you're putting in is essentially the cataloging position of a particular type of image that it learned on.
Yes. And when you're using something like the LoRa, where you can then put a specific person's face in, it is not hard if you have a Scarlett Johansson photo shoot and you take one image from that and then put that in. You can recreate what looks like outtakes from that with her face, and people would not know they weren't real. It's very wild stuff.
Yeah, that technology has been utilized in porn images for about 20 years now.
Well, but now it is open to anybody. You don't need a whole lot of...
You mean you don't have to work for a porn company now?
You don't have to do anything special. Wow. It's all open source. You don't even need it. Well, the Hefty Hardware will help get it done faster, obviously. But you're not running it on special machines.
I got a story about that, too.
About Hefty Hardware? Hey, that's what she said. Hey, look at that Hefty Hardware. But the intriguing thing to me, again, was just the fact that a description can come so close to reproducing the photograph that, this concept that the AI is going to be confused, just not going to happen.
Well, it's not quite, it shouldn't be surprising to you, because if you ask the AI to describe an image, it works in both directions. So the description it gives you should should generate something very similar. If it doesn't, that's a problem.
True. Now tell me about
So-
your big hardware.
Well, before that, I was going to talk about Bitcoin, which is just over 61 right now, 1,000 per coin. And the thing that it occurred to me that Bitcoin's been kind of hovering for the last 6-7 months around 60.
Yeah, in that ballpark.
In that ballpark, which kind of is not good, because Bitcoin, if it was truly decoupled from the US dollar, which is experiencing great inflation, Bitcoin right now should be in the high 70s, or at least, let's say, in the low 70s, because every year for the last 4 years of Biden's presidency, we've lost in the neighborhood of between 8 and 14% of the value of the US dollar. So if Bitcoin was truly independent, we ought to see an increase in Bitcoin versus the dollar, which is the same thing as saying a decrease due to inflation in the dollar, and hence more dollars necessary to buy the same exact Bitcoin. But what we've seen are more erratic movements with Bitcoin, which is it either drops by a lot, which is more than 20%, or it shoots up by a lot. And then it kind of hovers in the same general vicinity until some other major event. And those major events, I believe, could be wrong, but I think it's highly likely that those major events that drive the price are actually nation state purchases or nation state sells of Bitcoin. I don't think this is individuals, not even billionaires. I think this is literally like what we recently had when the money that was seized by the FBI in Bitcoin form a decade ago from the guy here in Austin that was selling, or that was running the marketplace where you could buy anything. What was it called? Something River, Silk River.
Silk Road.
Yeah, Silk Road. Silk Road. Yeah. Those Bitcoins that were seized were now just recently traded, which means that the FBI is
government
funding
grabbed them.
something.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
And that is the one beauty of Bitcoin, is that there is a record
It's traceable.
of every last little bit.
Yeah. Which the U.S. government or the Federal Reserve's had forever. That's why all our money is serialized, so they can track where it goes. But now with the way that Bitcoin's set up, it's public info. It's not private info.
Well, did you see the thing that recently there was a mistake at one of the printing presses for American currency?
Did not.
And they made a bunch of singles with serial numbers that had already been used in another one of the facilities. So there is now a thing where there are duplicate serial numbers. And if you could find two that match, the pairs are selling for.
That's worth a lot, I'm sure.
If you can find two that match, this is a whole new fun game, I guess.
Yeah, I'm sure there's websites where people can post all their serial numbers and see if they can match them up with somebody else, and maybe trade one of yours for one of theirs, and both end up with paired.
Well, yeah, if somebody needs a pair, it's like, dude, that's a lot of money. A lot of money. But it's all just an illusion.
Fake money anyway.
Well, this is it. And I also noticed the day a week and a half, 2 weeks ago, when the stock market really cratered out at the end of the week.
Yeah.
Bitcoin also cratered out. So the concept that it's somehow on its own level, that it's not connected to, it's like, it's all bullshit.
It is kind of bullshit. And while it was growing from being worth very little, almost nothing, and then starting to be on parity with the $1 per Bitcoin, and then, like $100 per Bitcoin, and continue growing up, I think a lot of people interpreted that, or at least called it that, well, this is where the true value of this money comes from, is it's counter to the fiat currencies. This is the real deal. But that's not what was responsible for the growth of value, I think John C. Dvorak said this originally, and he was absolutely right, is that the value of Bitcoin started increasing as its popularity started increasing, but its availability did not. And so you had more people finding out about it and then saying, oh, how do I get me one of them Bitcoin things? And that demand by people that previously had zero Bitcoin and now wanted some Bitcoin caused the price to go up. And as we've seen over the last probably 3 or 4 years, when the price of Bitcoin has been crazy high, meaning, I don't know, let's say over $10,000 per Bitcoin. That's been that for quite a while, probably more than 5 years now. I think we've had a lot of surges up and down, but we haven't had the type of growth that we did originally because, let's face it, at this point, anybody that wants a Bitcoin already has a Bitcoin.
I don't know if I would say that, but most I would agree with that.
Well, there isn't a huge amount of people that have never heard of Bitcoin anymore.
True. There's still some that are like, oh, should I
fairly
get that? Should I
easy
get
to
some?
get.
Yeah.
But that's a different question. But it's fairly easy to get because the growth happened when people that had never heard of Bitcoin asked the same questions like, oh, how do I get that? And so right now, if Bitcoin is what a lot of these Bitcoin enthusiasts like to claim it is, which is the only true currency on the planet and everything else is fake money, then we should see the trading of Bitcoin be on it should reflect the inflation happening in the US and other countries by continuously increasing in price without an increase in demand. We're not seeing that.
So buy Bitcoin, sell Bitcoin, don't do anything with Bitcoin. It's all a scam.
Well, it depends. I mean, I wouldn't like skip a meal to go buy Bitcoin.
Well, no, but you can just have your caviar guy bring it over when you pay him with the Bitcoin. So it's interesting.
Yeah, you should never spend Bitcoin.
Well, see, but that doesn't make any sense because then it's worth zero.
Oh, sure it does.
If you never convert it into something else, when I understand, if you want to trade it for services or for,
yeah, you're not seeing it in the same way here. Do you go to the art store and buy a painting in order to trade it for a burger later?
Well, sometimes, depending on the painting.
No, you don't. Mm-hmm.
I bought and sold stuff.
You've never bought a painting.
Well, not a painting.
Well, no, not a painting.
But I did buy a few copies of Russell James, the Victoria's Secrets, one of the big photographers back in the day.
Mm-hmm.
I did buy his photo book on Amazon when it was on sale for $10. And then sold them a few years later for $400 a piece.
Holy shit, that's pretty good.
So it's the same kind of a thing. I mean, you're taking something that you think has value, and then you turn it into more value.
Yeah.
When you think that it's reached its pinnacle of it can get you more money. It doesn't really matter what it is. I mean, I've talked about that before. I think it's insane when I heard that the one Taylor Swift album that I had still sitting in its wrapping, unopened, was selling for $1,000. Now, if I would have knee-jerk reaction and sold that, well, now they're selling for $3,000 to $4,000.
Yeah.
So the question with anything, including Bitcoin, is what's the top?
There's a caveat to that, which is when they were selling for $1,000, a lot more of them were actually being bought and sold.
Oh,
now
I'm sure.
that they're selling for $3,000, there's like 5 of them being bought and sold. When they sell for $10,000, there'll be 1 sold per year.
Which also means you can sell one for $5,000 pretty easily because people will be like, "Well, that's a good deal," but
Maybe,
really it's
but
not.
probably no. It's not that easy. when you get into ridiculous price quantities for high value items, and believe me, I know this because I sell spaceships. There are a lot fewer buyers willing to spend that kind of money.
Oh, I agree.
Than there are sellers.
Although these
it's just the sellers are okay with not selling.
Right.
I mean, that's the thing is if you're selling luxury goods, you should be okay with not making a single sale a year.
You're like, I'm just sitting on this. I don't need the money.
I'm going to sit on it until somebody really wants it.
Till somebody gives me the price and I'm like, okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Another 1818 from fake CSB, I'm sure.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
What did the Polish Bitcoin miner say when he finally found a block? Looks like I finally mined my own business. Wow. These are bad jokes.
They're racist too.
Kurva!
Yeah. Stop making noise for such low amounts, dude.
I need Eric PP to update this so we can set a minimum on Helipad.
No, all you need is just to have that sound and then turn off the automation. And when somebody sends something worthwhile, then you push a button on your Stream Deck.
Wait, you want me to do things manually?
In this case, yeah, because it's annoying to have that be automated for such low amounts.
Darren's a pro, man.
It said no one ever.
I remember it was like, oh, you need a mute button. I'm like, oh, yeah, I have that.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I can just turn it off. I can be like, nope, boom, okay, no more pew pew. Turned it off.
Perfect. Let's do that.
Turned it off.
Now, what was the other thing I was going to talk about? So
your big rig, your big hardware.
Oh, big rig, big hardware. So I think I knew about this.
Bought a Kenilworth. We bought a semi truck.
I think I knew this back about 5 years ago, but I kind of rediscovered it yesterday that NVIDIA has a GPU in the cloud service, which lets you play video games remotely.
Well, I think it does more. A lot of people are using these to do the AI artwork and stuff.
Yeah, I don't give a shit about that. I'm talking about actual important things.
I'm surprised you could even do it with the video games because I would think the latency would be an issue.
Well, you would think so, but the latency is perfectly acceptable. I just tested 2 different games yesterday with this service on their top tier, and it's running on a 4080, which is a over $1,000 video card, and they're charging. Well, for the everything package, it's $20 a month, so $240 a year. So it'd take you 4 years to just buy that card if you were to do it yourself.
Right.
Or they have a $10 a month package that doesn't guarantee that card. Could be something smaller and cheaper that they're using. The biggest difference is you get 1080p for $10 a month or 4K resolution for $20 a month. And there's a few smaller differences as well, but
now, is this basically creating a video stream, which is then being sent back to you?
Yep. So essentially what's happening is it's taking your keyboard and mouse input, which is very little data, so it can send it very fast to their server, which is then their server is actually running the game and then effectively doing the same thing that Twitch does, right? It's just grabbing a live stream off your video game and then sending it back to you. And Twitch has generally about a 5-second delay. It could be as short as a couple of seconds, but it's certainly not real time. But I think there are multiple reasons for that. One of which is they're multicasting. So they're sending one stream to a whole bunch of people. They're processing it, optimizing it. And because it's a free service to potentially thousands of people all at once, there are certain costs involved with them doing that, which are offset by advertising generally. And so it's a slightly different. Here, they're just sending it back to you. You're the consumer of this one single stream. For people that are dudes named Ben, this is really nothing more than RDP, except with extremely low latency and high bandwidth.
Right,
so
which makes
RDP,
sense.
which is remote desktop generally is fairly low bandwidth. And there's not a whole lot of latency to it, but there could be if you start moving your mouse really fast.
Right. That would be the only thing.
Yeah.
Because I can see that. I mean, I have a system in the basement that's where the troll room right now, trollroom.io.
Mm-hmm.
That is on another Windows box in the basement, but it looks like it's just part of my system on the third monitor. And it really doesn't matter whether it was in the basement or whether it's in your basement.
Exactly. And it might be.
And it just acts like looks like a normal part of the system that you're on. So the concept would be, hey, let somebody else buy that. Now, the interesting thing would be when people start letting you rent this per minute. So for the people that only want to play a video game a couple of times a month and you don't want to have a full subscription, that if they'll charge you more, but if you could just do it per minute, would be interesting as well.
But that doesn't make sense. So they have a free tier as well, but you have to wait in line for availability of the free computer assets. But you could certainly test this out for free without spending a dime. I'm testing it right now. I don't think I really need this service, but it's a neat service. It essentially allows you to just bring a cheap anything laptop or a Mac for that matter, and then still be able to play high-end video games at full resolution anywhere you are, as long as the bandwidth is there.
I mean, the intriguing thing is this is kind of taking us back to the concept that we originally started with, because I remember when the first dumb terminal that came into my house was fairly early on. The company my dad was working for.
Don't insult her like that.
It was, a company that sold flooring. And one of the biggest issues, as you can imagine, would be as the salesperson, rather than constantly calling in and being like, hey, do we have this in stock? Hey, do we have this in stock? Well, you have this terminal, which was nothing. It could do nothing if it was not connected to the mothership.
Yeah.
But this is the concept behind like these Chromebooks and things like that, is to go with very little locally.
It just has to basically be able to use a web browser.
And the beauty here is that you could I could walk into Gene's house if the snake doesn't attack me and log into my computer, which would be in the cloud.
Yep.
So your computer's with you wherever.
The same kind of concept, except it's living in their servers, in their cloud. And from testing it out yesterday, I was shocked at how good the images looked. Now, you can also, on the advanced mode, you can control the frame rate, the size of the screen, and the actual bandwidth of the video you're receiving. So I maxed out the video to 70 megs. So 70 meg stream is, I mean, you could do a lot with that, because your typical stream for 1080p, like on Netflix, is about 4 megs or less. On Twitch, if you're watching somebody, it's usually a 6 meg stream. And this has a max limit of 70.
Yeah, which is more than my upload bandwidth.
There you go. So it's it's going to be able to send a lot of data to you very quickly. And as a result, you can have very quick twitchy movement on there, and it does not feel at all like it's slow. And it still looks like 4K. The one thing that I will say that is noticeable is when you're playing the game locally and there's fast motion, like let's say you're sweeping from left to right and looking around, everything is still very sharp and clear and in focus. On this, much as you would anticipate, because it's using some kind of compression algorithm for video generation, it's basically creating a video of your game. There is a more of a softness to images when there's fast movement. And then as soon as you stop moving fast, everything snaps into sharpness again.
Well, there's
a little bit of that.
Yeah, one of the killer things would be if you're using this for video editing.
Yeah.
Because all you have to do is upload your file, but then while you're working on it, it's on this supercomputer with the super fast GPU, so your rendering will be way faster.
Yeah, although even like a Mac Mini can render multiple 4K streams in real time, so that's not really a big deal.
Well, the Windows machines are still a little bit behind that.
Nobody uses that for video editing.
A lot of people do. I mean, they probably shouldn't. I mean, I'm pissed because I decided that I wanted the Windows thing, especially now that the other day my parents are like, all of a sudden there's like a fucking horse on the wallpaper of their Windows machine, and it's like, really, fucking Windows, whatever, again, all of this push to put things on people's desktops and the ads and all this shit that they're adding in, getting very annoying. But since I decided I want to get a Mac Studio, it was like, oh, M4 is coming soon. It's like, well, I'm not buying a fucking M2, and I'm gonna have to wait till next year for the M4 to come out, because I'm like, I'm not buying a fucking M2 knowing the M4's coming in like 6 months now.
There's never an end to that, right?
I know it's a constant, but it's like, I just don't want to be caught at the end of the cycle, because Apple doesn't really like discount the stuff. It was like, hey, the new one's out. This shit's 50% off. I'd be like, I'm in on 50% off. But no, they charge you full price no matter what. But I want the M4.
Yeah,
man.
More or less.
I want the
there's
M4.
Some deals to be have.
Give me the M4.
Okay.
Send me a nice M4. Gene, get Elon. He'll get him to get me an M4.
I'm happy enough with my M3.
Well, that's because that's they do have some M4s out now, don't they? The M4, like in the laptop. But the M3s are nice.
But my M3 is perfectly fine. The first generation M chips were a little wonky.
Yeah.
But M2, 3, I guess 4 now, they're all good.
I want the M4, baby. I want it. I want that M4 action.
Okay. That's, yeah.
We are not sponsored by Apple, but we could be.
No.
Because Microsoft sucks.
I had an M2.
Briefly.
I was at least. So, yeah, for 2 years.
But I still have the old, what is this? The video card in this old Dell. It's not even that old. It's like 3 years old. It was like, what, a 1661 Ti or something. So it's like,
yeah.
When I go, hey, render, it's like, oh, geez. This is going to take a while.
I don't know why you haven't bought like one of the newer NVIDIAs.
Just update the video card. Hop and pop. They don't cost as much. If I would just go with the top end, so I can create some
$1,800.
Create some AI images of Scarlett Johansson.
Yeah, $1,800.
And the wife I told her she was pulling a Gene the other day.
Oh, really?
Because she was looking for some music to put on a device so that they could play it at work. And I got with the guy from New Orleans. And I'm like, really? This is like Gene being like, oh yeah, the girl in the movie, the one. It's always Scarlett Johansson. But I'm like, oh, Harry Connick Jr.? She's like, yes. I'm like, well, see, this isn't.
See, you realize you enabled this behavior, right?
I know, because when you say, oh yeah, the guy from New Orleans, I'm like, oh, it's Harry Connick Jr. And when you're like, oh, the girl, and I'm like, ScarJo, yeah, great. It's way easier. We are a wealth of knowledge.
And you're going by we now?
We, yes, I do. It's the royal
we.
Why did the Polish gamer get kicked out of the cloud gaming service? Well, maybe they got kicked out of the closet for a different reason. Polish gamer got kicked out of the cloud gaming service because he kept trying to install Windows on the cloud. That's not even a joke, whoever this is now.
Yeah, I think CSB ought to chime in here and report this as a clear violation of his name.
Yes, has CSB started drinking, though? That could be the question.
Oh, did he?
I don't know. This could be why. I mean, it would explain a lot.
Yeah, CSB making Polish jokes, that would certainly explain a lot.
He would be exactly the last thing you'd expect from him.
Yeah. Now, I do know CSB is getting ready to travel, so...
He is going out on the road.
Yeah,
tell CSB
satellites tracking him.
I can't guarantee you the quality of the program, and the beta ended, and they're like and I was all in on paying the $30 or whatever to Supertone, which is the company that makes the really cool plugin that I like that gets rid of the things like the, crinkling noises and all that. CSB, you want to check out the Supertone Shift, which real time turns your voice into an AI voice without using remnants of your voice, if that makes any sense.
That makes no sense.
It is not just changing the pitch. It's like it takes it in and processes it, and I don't know if it's
it uses somebody else's AI voice. So it's doing speech to text to speech.
Yes, or just direct speech to speech somehow, but I would guess that maybe it is going speech to text. But it
has to.
However, it's working. It is exactly what CSB had been looking for, which would give you the opportunity to do your own podcast,
but with a different voice.
Yes.
The what that would be useful for is real-time translation.
Also true, yes.
Because you could speak English and it'll spit out Japanese in real time.
Yeah, I think we're getting there.
The only issue with that is it can't be truly real time because the composition of sentences in different languages is very different.
Yes.
So unless you're translating word for word,
which you can
and then you're going to sound really
right.
ridiculous. Yeah, that's like Google Translate, which is a whole game in and of itself. It's like, let's see how much this is going to get screwed up by Google. Although Google Translate has been getting better, but initially it was just doing word for word. Now I think they're getting better at it. But so you have to wait until that whole sentence is complete and then translate the sentence into the other language.
Right, to try to understand the context.
This is why it's so difficult to be a human real-time translator for like political speeches and things that Putin does.
Because you have to hear the sentence.
You're trying to translate in as close to real time as possible to what the person's saying, but you don't want to get the context wrong because you haven't heard the end of the sentence yet. And so it's like there has to be a buffer in your brain of roughly a sentence as you're listening things for the first time in real time of somebody speaking and then translating it. I can do that to some extent from Russian to English. I cannot do that from English to Russian because English language has a lot of special rules, like things that only apply once or twice, and you don't know which application it is until the sentence is fully completed. In Russian, it's easier because the language is more standardized. So you can start really translating faster at a smaller amount of data that you have.
But this makes things, once this technology gets there, and this would at least show a lot of promise on that kind of front. It would be very interesting if you could, again, like you said, CSB's traveling. If I could go into Russia because they want gringos like us to come in because we don't like this neoliberal.
Oh, yeah. We should mention that.
Which is a very interesting thing. But if I can
hilarious. So,
if I can go into Russia and basically wear earbuds
and speak,
and then listen for the Russian,
or hear the translations,
and the other way around, being able to speak and have that then, granted you would need a device. It's a lot harder.
You have to hear some grannies sitting on the bench talking to each other. Who's that Shrek over there, and who let him in this country?
They're like, that's Gene. He used to live here.
Not what I was referring to, clearly.
I know. Okay. That's why the show is funny.
Of the two of us, the more Shreky looking one is definitely you.
Yeah, but I'm 8 foot tall, though, so it's different.
That's exactly
Shrek
right.
Is short. Isn't Shrek short? He was big.
No, he's not short.
Why was I thinking Shrek was short?
I don't know.
I know he's greenish.
The cat is kind of short.
Maybe. But I love the fact. But you sent that over, and I was like, is this a joke? So I did a little bit more research on that.
Not a joke. Nope.
Russia is like, come on down. We want all the people, and there's a lot of them. And it's not just the Democrats who were like, I'm going to leave the country if Trump's elected. There's a lot of them that are saying the same thing about Kamala. And
it's not even Kamala. Look at Europe. I think that's really the biggest target audience, not Americans, it's Europeans. Because so what we're talking about is Russia did a press release saying that they've now created special visa classes for refugees, which is, something that happens in a lot of times in countries. But the thing that's so unique about this is the refugee class are basically people with conservative values that want to escape the liberal hellholes that they're living in. So the U.S. is basically accepting criminals from Latin America to cross over into the border with no documentation, a free phone, and $6,000 in a credit card. Russia is accepting people that don't like that. If you're sick and tired of crazy laws in your country that require you to say somebody's gender or go to jail,
right?
Well, you can go to Russia where they don't have laws like that. The irony is Russia is definitely more capitalist than the U.S. right now. There's no two ways about that. And arguably, it's a more religious and traditional values country at this point as well, which is a fairly new thing for them. That's certainly post-Soviet Union, where Russia was officially an atheist country. But the Christianity really regained a foothold fast. And I think something like 78% of the population considers themselves Christians in Russia. Just
sounds about right. Number.
Europe is like 4%.
Well, yeah, because they're all in on the atheism, and let's let's live in that kind of world.
So they're now officially, because normally if you want to get a visa, you it's a limited tourist visa. You have to provide where you're going to be staying, all that jazz. And if you want a longer term, like a business visa, you're going to be working there. There's more hoops to jump through. So they're creating, initially, you can come in on a 3-month, effectively no questions asked visa to just live there for the 3-month period.
Try it out.
But they've also got programs in place that will accelerate your citizenship and do something which, honestly, I don't think is a good idea, but they're doing it, which is remove the requirement that currently exists for knowledge of the Russian language and Russian history. So if you, prior to this point, wanted to move to Russia from anywhere else in the world, one of the things you'd have to do before you became a citizen is learn about the history of the country and learn the language enough that you're passable in it. I think both of those are reasonable and should be the case in this country as well. Instead, they're putting out exams for U.S. citizenship in other languages now, which is crazy stupid.
I think it's interesting that they're doing it for the trial period, because I think what you'll get is, you like it here? Well, now leave and go do this and then come back.
Yeah.
Which is the way it should be.
So, but by removing those requirements, they're essentially saying, look, if you find that culturally you're a good fit for our non-liberal country, we're going to make it easier for you to come here initially, and we're going to make it easier for you to stay here and become a citizen. I think that's frankly a very creative way of getting a highly qualified workforce.
True.
Because what they're saying is, if you're in Europe and you see England effectively starting to become a caliphate where they will arrest people for saying mean things about Muslims and they'll put them in prison, and they will do nothing when Muslim immigrants rape children. If you don't like that, move to a country that has the opposite laws, where they take things like pedophilia very seriously. Those are death sentences. They're not like, oh, you have to tell your neighbors that you're a sex criminal or whatever. No. It's a death sentence. There's a lot of things that if you look at the party platform of the Republican Party, that actually align very closely with laws in Russia, current on the books laws. Now, not everything, and I don't want to make it a commercial for, hey, you too could move to Russia. There's plenty of things that are still better in the West than Russia. Culturally speaking, though, they're absolutely on the same side as I think most of the people listening to this show, which is that as the U.S. has been moving further and further to the left into wacko socialist territory, Russia has been moving further to the right into the capitalist side of the equation. So, like, for example, corporate tax in Russia, I can't remember if it was 8% or 10%, but it's literally half of what it is in the U.S. because they think it's important to encourage entrepreneurship.
Well, but most people will tell you, well, but it's run by a dictator. Putin's a killer. He will. Mm-hmm. And I don't know what the truth of the matter is there. I would say.
All I know is the Russian elections were less contested, meaning fewer people thought they were faked than the American elections. So that should tell you something.
Yeah, that's definitely a side-by-side comparison people should do.
Mm-hmm.
And see what boots on the ground actually looks like. We talked about it maybe about a year ago, the guy walking around the Russian mall, and it's like, I don't know, doesn't look like there's...
Yeah, everything is still available. Everything is still there. The brand names is what pulled out.
Right.
Because remember, most stores in other countries of U.S. brands, they're not really owned by the brand. They're essentially franchisees.
Yeah, it's a licensing kind of thing.
Yeah, so like you want to have a McDonald's in Russia, you pay McDonald's a fee, you open it up, you have everything branded, but you're not even getting ingredients coming. They're like nothing is coming from the U.S. except for branding material. Everything else is sourced locally or maybe coming from China, just like it is here. It's coming from China. And so when the brands pulled out, they effectively ended their contracts. The stores didn't go anywhere. You know, they just changed the name of McDonald's or what used to be McDonald's KFC or whatever to something that is generally a play on words. So it's even obvious of what the store was, and then continue selling the exact same products. And I know one of the things that one of the commenters pointed out in that video about a year ago we were watching is that like most things have been rebranded off of McDonald's to whatever the Russian name for it is. And it's, you know, it's like Burger King or something. But in Russian, obviously, except for the straws. So clearly they had way too many straws and they weren't going to throw them away. So they're still using McDonald's straws, even though it's not a McDonald's anymore.
Yeah, but free straws. So that makes sense.
Yeah, well, they're not free. Somebody paid for them.
Somebody had to do the
throw
thing.
them away.
Yeah, somebody had to do the thing with the thing.
So the fact that they're actually doing this, I think, is kind of ballsy. I don't think it'll be a massive number of people that take them up on it, but nonetheless, you got to say, well, they've got a point.
Yes.
I mean, the way the West has been moving, and it's further and further into turning your kids gay. I mean, it's not the frogs anymore getting turned gay; it's the kids getting turned gay.
Well, there has been a war on religion in the United States for a long time. And you can see the demographics. People are at least saying they are less religious. That has taken on, bigly, as CSB would say. I don't think there's any question that the United States went from being a fairly religion-based population to one that is quickly going more atheist. And I think this is one of the reasons why you see a lot of the problems that you have. And it's interesting because this comes from, even my wife, who doesn't have, a big religious side, is like, but I want the people in charge to have that moral compass. And this is what we're kind of missing out on, is that there's even people who wouldn't consider themselves religious that are like, well, I still want the people with the moral compass in charge, not the ones going, let's kill the babies.
Yeah, for sure. So I just got a message on X from clearly a fake CSB saying it was me sending the silly boostograms today to empty out my wallet.
CSB would never empty his wallet.
Yeah, it's clearly fake. I can't believe the real CSB would empty his wallet.
No, it doesn't sound right.
CSB, blink 4 times if your life is in danger.
I just noticed I didn't even put the live tag on. So, I mean, for the podcasting
nice.
2.0, that's, there's too many plates spinning at once. But we're on X. That's all we really need.
Mm-hmm.
It is all we really need.
Sure.
We're getting ready to move to Moscow, getting our stuff packed up.
Speak for yourself. I'm not.
I put you down as my contact there. Like,
Oh,
who should we,
plus one?
Right. Well, who should we? No, you're like, if you need that recommendation, if you need put Gene down, like, who's he'll vouch for me.
Mm-hmm.
So if Vlad calls, you'll be like, oh yeah, that guy's great.
I don't know, man. You steal music.
They love doing that in the Soviet Union.
Well, no, they don't steal music. It's not stealing if you just don't believe in copyrights.
It's kind of the same thing, isn't it? I am so Russian, I can't even believe it.
Yeah, you're so Russian. You're abiding by Russian laws now.
Yes, I already am.
Uh-huh.
So that's the beauty of it.
I don't know if you were ever on this thing, but back probably over a decade ago, probably 15 years ago, when Russia passed their first set of copyright updates, which essentially said that libraries have the ability to distribute digital content just like they have the ability to distribute physical content to anybody that wants to borrow something. And there were all kinds of library websites popping up for movies and music. And you could literally get anything, music or movie that was from the West.
Right.
And it was in the form of a library, and you had to become a member for like $1. And then you can download anything you want from the library.
They were doing that with legitimate libraries here as well.
Yes.
But it was all the DRM stuff. And I know there are ways to get around the DRM, but their whole concept was the same, which was very odd. So if you had the audiobook, your latest Gene Nevduliev book, and it was on audio, well, even though you could technically lend it out to 1 billion people at once because it's just a digital file, they were still going by the limiting, like, well, we have 3, and if 3 people have it out, we can't do it more.
We can't loan again. Well, Russia didn't do that. Those
just like everybody take
loaning in quotes, out material left and right. And I think that I use that shit because that was legal. I'm abiding by the laws of the country that's providing the service. That's totally legal. Kind of like buying cocaine from a country where it's legal. That's legal, right?
Sure. I mean, as long as you don't try to bring it into a country where it's illegal, Brittany Griner going into Russia.
No. You would keep it on servers running in Europe and then simply watching the video stream from that server.
That's no. But then if you're watching it in a country where it's illegal, then it must be illegal.
No, I don't think so.
Even though it's on the server where it's completely legal.
Yeah, totally legal. Anyway, so that was kind of the first time that you could utilize Russian websites. When all these brands started pulling out due to Biden's sanctions on Russia during the Ukraine stuff.
Yes.
Russia, in response to the sanctions, had removed the U.S. As a authority for copyright.
Right. They're like, well, we're not going to.
Effectively, what they said is no copyrights by any countries that are sanctioning us will be enforced in Russia.
Which meant the movie houses were showing the latest Hollywood movies.
Yeah. Before they're out in Hollywood.
Whenever you can get them, baby.
Yeah.
Whenever you can get them
completely
on the black
legitimately.
Market.
I mean, like legally. So it's it's interesting because that's the thing that a lot of people that just call out Putin as a dictator, I don't think they know what the word means, because a dictator is not just somebody who's in office for a long time. it's somebody that, given the opportunity, the population would remove from office and replace with somebody else quickly.
Right.
Not the case with Putin. He has the support of the vast majority of people in Russia. And even if you think the elections are rigged and not totally legit, and we don't know, like, who knows how any country's elections are? I mean, you certainly can't say the U.S. elections are not rigged.
No, well, we know that they are on multiple levels. Now, the question would be, is the cheating high enough at such a rate that it's causing a different result? That I don't think it's been proven. We can say, I think so.
No.
But you don't have it that you can point to one thing, although you're still finding things, stories still coming out like, well, there's how many voters still on the rolls that they know are illegals in a bunch of different swing states. It's like, well, this would show you that anybody that will stand out there and tell you there is no improprieties in the elections is like bullshit.
The thing is, well, let me finish up the Putin thought and then I'll get back to the voting thing. He has had consistently a higher support numbers in polls than U.S. presidents have.
In Russians
and
too?
Including from Russians, including polls conducted by non-Russian companies. So you can't say, well, they're all just bullshit. They're just faking the results. Well, okay, so the same polling company that tells you that that Biden's numbers are 31% is telling you Putin's numbers are 66%.
Right.
Same company, same methodology, same equipment. Okay. I mean, if you don't want to believe one, you want to believe the other one, that's fine. I think more than likely, Biden's numbers are actually lower than that.
But everybody all of a sudden loves Kamala.
Yeah. Well, who was incidentally by polls the lowest liked vice president in the history of all vice presidents since the invention of polling.
Yes. And I didn't watch any of her speech. Did the cackle come out? That was the biggest question.
I didn't watch any of it either.
Got to find out. We'll know on the next No Agenda because they were betting. Adams said at least 3 times. JCD didn't think so because she's reading off the teleprompter. Were there any Kamala cackles? That's what I want to know.
Mm-hmm.
I did watch the interview last night that J.D. Vance went on Bill O'Reilly for like 20 minutes. That was an interesting conversation.
And did O'Reilly shut up enough to let him talk?
Believe it or not, yeah. He was...
wow.
But he did ask him some questions that people hadn't heard the answers before.
I haven't watched this, yet, but I don't know if you have. The interview with Trump that comedian dude, hillbilly guy did. Theo Vaughn.
I saw the video pop up in the feed, but yeah, I haven't watched it either.
Yeah, that's about all I've seen as it popped up in the feed. But to me, it was like, what the hell? What? How is Theo Vaughn, who's like a second tier comic podcast, interviewing Trump and Joe Rogan isn't?
Well, did I mention Trump's going to be on our show next week for everybody who want to... People were so pissed off yesterday that Beyonce or Taylor Swift weren't at the DNC after, especially the Beyonce. I guess it was leaked that she was performing, and everybody's like, oh, these fuckers just lied to get us to listen. It's like, well, of course they did. Of course they did. And you bought it. Come on.
Yeah.
If you're not hearing...
listen to those performers that you mentioned are morons.
Yeah. And I don't think that like Beyonce said she was going to be there because unless Beyonce, if you it's easy to follow these people on the social medias. If the person themselves didn't say we were going to be at the convention, why would you believe anybody?
Yep.
Because people do. Because people are dumb.
Yeah. But did you see that ad for Kamala? White middle class voters for Kamala Trump.
No, I've got him married to Kamala Trump. No,
for Kamala Trump.
Yeah, that's
that was the first porn that came out on X's new AI that just got updated incidentally.
Oh man, I saw it. Now we have access to it even at the lower tiers.
It was a Trump married to Kamala.
That's like a bad 1950s sitcom.
That's like the first shit that came to mind of people wanting to do images on X.
Instead of father
Crazy.
knows best, it's like what Trump knows best, something like that.
Trump.
That'd be a great.
Trump was alive back then, so
Was around.
Yeah.
He's not going to be on our show next week. Just to be clear, that was a joke. That was humor.
Oh, a joke. And here I was thinking I was going to prepare my questions from Mr. Trumpo.
We could probably find somebody that does a good Trump impersonation.
Yeah, like an AI. Yeah, probably could.
I guess thanks to CSB for all of the boosts today. He is our one and only producer for today's show. That is so sad. We should just stop the show right now. Never do it again. Never come back. Just give it up.